better results through coaching. Today I want to start out with a question. How many people have a New Year's resolution they've set? All right, most of you. How about a business goal for 2018? All hands up on that one. All right, make sure you all have your hands up. What I want you to do is I want you to think about one of those goals. Well, pick out one of those goals, and if you have a sheet or you have a smartphone, go ahead and write that goal down. Something that you want to accomplish in 2018. And as you're thinking about what you want to accomplish, I want you to think about what it would be like when you achieve that goal. What will you feel like? What value will it bring to your life? What change will it bring to your life? If you accomplish that goal, what will that value be in your life? So as you start thinking about writing that goal down and then kind of capturing that feeling of that value, it's important when we get to that point that we know what we want to do and why we want to do it. The next phase always becomes, how are we going to get there? And so we all know, the news will tell us that 80% of people will fail to meet their New Year's resolution. The good news is it's not you. The reason people fail to meet their New Year's resolution is because they don't have a system to get there. When I was younger, I wanted to understand why some people were successful and other people were not. All right, let me be truthful. I wanted to understand why those people were successful and I wasn't. And so as a child, we're taught certain things. We're taught certain traits make us successful. So I started looking into what is this social economic background of successful people. I looked into their education level. I looked into their circle of influence. And although those things are important, they don't allow us to be successful. They're bridges to success, but they don't make us successful. So I really wanted to understand why people were successful. Recently, I just finished reading Bruce Springsteen's Autobiography. He was a working class kid from New Jersey whose highest education level was a class in community college. His circle of influence when he first started playing guitar were the kids in the neighborhood. Arguably, he's one of the most successful singers and songwriters in the nation today. What made him successful? I wanted to understand what made him successful. So I went back and I started looking at all the information that I had. And I started looking at it and I said, there's got to be something here that makes people successful. And I realized it had to be something in their behaviors. And we hear a lot about grit and determination, what I call moxie, that makes people successful. And although I think that's important, I don't think this is the one key factor that makes people successful. What makes people successful is the ability to make the right behavioral decision in the moment to move them closer to their goal. So successful people take all that external information and make that right internal process to move them closer to their goal. And when I say it out loud and when people listen to it, they're like, that seems really simple. It's simple. It's just not easy. See, the problem is we make hundreds of decisions, if not thousands of decisions every day. When you walked into this room, you made a decision whether you were going to stand or whether you were going to sit. You probably didn't think about it. You probably just did it out of natural tendencies. And I find when you walk into a room and everyone's sitting, your natural tendency is to sit. When everyone's standing, your natural tendency is to stand. And so, if we're not making a decision, if we're not consciously understanding how we're making those decisions, we're not getting what we need to do. Let me give you an example. Probably yesterday when most of you drove into work, you took the same route that you always take. Or maybe you're like my wife who puts it in the Waze GPS and just follows whatever they tell them, right? So they can get around the traffic. In fact, on my way here, I'm going down 65 and they're like, no, you need to go this way and that way. And I'm like, all right, I'll just follow them. Or maybe you made the conscious decision yesterday because it was so cold out that you're going to stop and get a coffee on the way to work. Now let me ask you a question. What if I changed the criteria you use for making your driving decisions? What if I, instead of saying go the fastest route, I say, why don't you go the route that saves you the most effective, is most cost effective? what would that do for you? How much money would that save up at the end of the year? And if you saved money up at the end of the year, what could you do with that money? What if you gave a present or a gift to a significant other? What value would that have in their life? By changing one criteria in your life, you can be more successful at your goals. So there's a great exercise to kind of go through with, and I'll go through it. It's pretty simple. I want you to answer these 3 questions. So I want you to think about your goal and answer these 3 questions. The first one is, what actions or behaviors do you need to continue to do to reach your goal? Now, when I'm talking to my executive clients and I come in and I ask them that question, there's this moment of just relief in the room. Because they realize for the first time that I'm not there to change them. And if we're going to go to any goal, we're going to try to complete and reach any goal in our life, we want to be our authentic self. So that doesn't necessarily mean changing everything about us, but it means bringing something in there. So think about that. What are those actions or behaviors you need to continue to reach your goal? And then the second question is, what actions or behaviors do you need to stop doing to reach your goal? And usually this is where I get a lot of ponder. People think, wow, what do you mean I need to stop doing? When I'm doing larger presentations and longer time, I talk about what's your kryptonite? What's that behavior that's holding you back from being successful? When I was younger, my dad and I used to go hiking a lot in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. And as we would go, every time we left, before we left the house, he goes, make sure your backpack's light. And I never understood that until I got to the top of the mountain and I had a heavy backpack that was cutting in to my shoulders and I was almost falling over. And it's the same thing with your goals. You're not going to reach them if you have all this extra stuff. And so there's things we need to stop doing to be successful. And then the last thing is, what are we going to start doing to reach our goals? What are those activities and behaviors that we need to start doing to reach our goals? And the interesting thing about starting these behaviors is sometimes we don't know. And sometimes we need a coach. We need an accountability partner or somebody that has done this before to get us to that next level. A lot of times I'm working with leaders and they're smart, they're intelligent. Most of the time they're probably smarter than I am. But I'm there to give them an outside perspective and use my experience to help them see what's going on. So as you think about what goals you want to complete this year, think about how you're going to get there. What is the system you're going to use to get there? So thank you for your time. Again, my name's John Thalheimer. I'm the Leadership Guide.